Hi, everyone. We're just going to give it a minute or so people can filter on in the webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Technology Tuesdays. My name is Lydia Nimke, and I am the Adult Services Librarian at the Tippecanoe branch, and I am very excited to bring you today's presentation on technology for the gardener. You are all muted and have your cameras turned off by default, but please don't let that stop you from asking any questions about today's presentation in the Q&A box down below and engaging with us in the chat as you see fit. I am by no means a, pro gardener, so feel free to share your expertise in the chat. With us today, we have Beth Gabriel, the adult librarian from the East Branch.
Hi, everyone. I'll be hanging out in the background and giving your questions to Lydia, so don't hesitate to put them in the Q&A as we go along. Have a great program.
Thanks. All right, so let's talk about some of the main concepts we'll be covering today. First off, we'll talk about devices and hardware to use in the physical space of your garden with your plants. Then we'll talk about mobile applications that you can use to plan your garden, to identify plants, and learn about their specific care needs. Then we'll go over some of the great Facebook groups that you can use to learn more about specific plants or your specific area or zone for planting, things that you should take into consideration depending on the city or state that you live in. And then finally, we'll wrap things up by talking about some things that aren't quite tech, but are still helpful when gardening and caring for a garden or plants. Of course, today's presentation will be recorded, and that recording will be sent to you all in a follow-up email along with any links of any resources we may talk about. And like I mentioned at the beginning, I am nowhere near super knowledgeable about plants. I enjoy them, I like them, but there's a chance you all have some great expertise to share. And if you want to share that along in the chat with the other people that are here with us today, please feel free to do that. Please, please, please. So first off, let's talk a little bit about the physical devices that we can use in the garden to make plant care and gardening just that much simpler. First is smart gardens. Now, smart indoor gardens are popular with urban growers and can provide light and automatic watering, fertilizer, and heat levels, all with a very small footprint. All you have to do pretty much is sow the seeds and the machine does the rest. Some of these machines come with LED grow lights and self-watering mechanisms, but in general, they require almost no maintenance or attention. Many of the top smart garden companies will send you seed pods or plant sprouts with really quick shipping to keep your smart garden in bloom in perpetuity. Can you imagine having fresh lettuce, fresh greens available at any time just by walking into your hallway? I think that's living the dream. These days, smart gardens like Arrow Garden, which is on the left here, Click and Grow, and In Garden make smart gardens in all sizes, and they're designed to grow different types of produce. There are large smart gardens fit to house full tomato plants and smaller models that are better suited to grow microgreens, lettuce, or herbs. As you can see here, this is kind of the smaller version of things. Um, and this is more suitable for like a countertop or a tabletop. Get a little bit bigger with this one. And finally, you have this one, which will take up a pretty substantial chunk of real estate. Um, However, it's still a lot smaller than the square footage you'd need in a soil garden or an outdoor garden to grow all of these plants. And of course, this is Wisconsin. We cannot grow plants or almost anything outside year round. So, this would be a great way to be able to have access to fresh homegrown produce year round. You may also want to consider some form of automated water systems, and these really range from our simpler, more gravity based water systems to highly complex and technical solutions. But whatever you choose, there's going to be no more standing by garden beds with the hose in your hand while the sun bakes into your skin. Smart sprinklers can have scheduled irrigation. They can determine if there are any leaks or breaks in your line. They will ultimately help save water and they can adjust for weather changes, some of them. A lot of them you can even control from your phone. One of the most successful and attractive indoor systems is a water spike. And there are several different manufacturers of this device, which gives you a choice of styles and appearance as well as cost. I often see these in the form of those water globes that are kind of like a beautiful blown glass piece of artwork um, that has a long tube meant to be stuck into the soil after it's full of water to slowly release water over time to that plant through capillary action. You can also consider a drip watering system, which helps take the guesswork out of watering your plants because you don't have to remember when the last time you watered them is, just like with the water spike. Instead, here we're just filling a large reservoir and running a hose of a line through all of the plants, as you can see in this picture. I'll zoom in a little bit there. And it will provide a constant source of moisture and water for those plants. And you can set it on a timer so it only waters them in the early morning or in the evening. The negative to the drip watering system is that it can look sort of bad. If you have a bunch of outdoor plants on your deck and you have the drip watering system to take care of those plants, it might look a little unsightly to have this big case that almost looks like a cooler taking up visual space. But for low maintenance watering, it's a really good solution. And you can definitely be creative in your design to camouflage the drip line. Maybe you have a vining plant wrapped all around the drip lines or something like that. Now, timers are definitely an important part of setting up an automated system. And you can set up a timer to water your garden. By doing this, you keep your plants from getting stressed from the constant like over and under watering cycle. There are a wide variety of timers on the market, from very simple analog timers to more complicated, connects to an app on your smartphone type of timer. They can be hooked up to your hose, sprinkler, or your drip system. And when you go to the smarter end of things, they'll let you decide when and how often to water. Once you've set the schedule, the timer really does the rest. The latest in modern technology is a sprinkler timer you can run from your smartphone. The automated watering system from RainPoint can even check the weather to see if rain is in the forecast and adjust the watering cycle accordingly. I think that is really futuristic and very cool. If you're looking for a simpler solution, you can always look towards self-watering pots, planters, and window boxes. They're usually larger than their smaller container pots, but they do hide some of the mechanics that make them work. Now, when we're considering smart plant monitors, these are really a great way to take number one, some of the guesswork out of plant care, and number two, save you time because it does take a lot of time once you have, you know, uh, a, a few garden beds or once you have a lot of house plants. It does take time to check every plant and check that they're getting all the things they need. So smart plant monitors are a way to kind of take some of that work out of it. Over on the right here, we have the parrot pot, which has sensors for measuring water, fertilizer, light levels, and humidity and temperature. It is run through an app. It's connected to your smartphone, and it will, once you tell the app what plant you have in the pot, it'll show you what you need for ideal living conditions for that plant. From there, it'll monitor all of those things I mentioned before and give you notifications if and when your plant ever needs extra care from you. Over on the left here, we have the grow water sensor. And this is nice because it comes in a starter kit. And these sensors work both indoors and outdoors. So you can put them in your plant beds, you can put them in your potted plants that are outside, and you can use them in your indoor plants as well. Um, the starter kit contains a hub and three sensors that you can use in three different locations. And the hub connects all of the data from the sensors to the app on your smartphone. So you're able to monitor the water and moisture levels in the soil from up to any one of the 50,000 plants it has in its database. And it will send you push notifications or emails when it's time to water your plants. Now for smart mowers. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. It's just like a Roomba, but for your grass. Unlike some of the other tools I'm mentioning today, I don't personally know anyone that has a smart mower. Maybe because we're just not that fancy in Wisconsin yet. I don't know, but they're definitely an option. If you just don't want to spend your Saturdays mowing the lawn, this could be a great tool to use, especially if your lawn is relatively flat. It is going to do the job. I could also see a smart mower being a great option for someone with mobility challenges, or again, just anyone who doesn't want to dedicate a precious weekend day to doing basic maintenance stuff in their yard. Maybe you want to do fun stuff like take care of the beautiful flowers and native grasses we're growing instead. So, garden cams are another device you can utilize in your garden, both for, typical gardening purposes, but also for security. If you've ever been the victim of plant vandalism, a potting shed burglary, garden break-ins, this will kind of provide you with some surveillance to help alleviate that, help you prevent that. And then, of course, it's also going to be very nice for watching your garden grow and watching wildlife. There are different models that will work whether or not your garden has power, Wi-Fi coverage, and, light or not. There's definitely a garden camera you can use. And you don't have to buy a specific garden camera. This one on the left here is a specifically designed garden camera, but you can really buy any sort of camera as long as it's suitable for outdoor conditions, or you can put it in some sort of encasement that makes it suitable for outdoor conditions. My mom-in-law got a camera to watch her bird feeders in for Christmas, and she has really been enjoying seeing them when she's away from home, seeing what comes by her yard to visit her. So that is kind of a fun thing you can do. You can have your own wildlife live stream. 3D printers. Now, you may be thinking, Lydia, how in the world could a 3D printer help with gardening and houseplants? Well, although I wouldn't recommend getting one specifically for gardening, if you already have one, there are definitely a lot of great ways you can use it for gardening and for plants. You can 3D print pots for the exact size specifications you need for your plants and in the exact color you want to go with your decor. If you might have a pot that has drainage but no tray, you can print a tray with ease. Not to mention there are other things like trellises, plant labels, and propagation stations that you can print for free once you've bought the 3D printer and the filament to print things with at your house. You're really only limited to what you can dream up to use with your plants. I've had a bunch of trellises printed that I don't have anywhere near me, unfortunately, but they're modular, so I can keep building onto them as high as my plant grows. So, very useful to me. All right, moving on to mobile apps. There's definitely an app, well, in general, there's an app for everything. I hope that that's one thing our longtime viewers have gleaned from Tech Tuesdays, and gardening is no exception. There are apps for designing gardens, IDing plants, irrigation placement, figuring out why your plant is sick, and how to get it back to being healthy. And a lot of these apps are free to download. So in this section, we're just going to go through a few, and I have some videos I found on YouTube demonstrating them, and we'll take a look at them. The first one I'll show you is Garden Plan Pro, which will run on any iPhone or iPad running iOS 11 or above. And this has drawing tools that essentially lets you create a floor plan for your outdoor garden spaces. So you can create the perfect layout, rearrange your plants, track their progress throughout the season, and a lot more. It even lets you add in plants and then it'll space them correctly for you. So if you have, if you want to have a garden bed of tomato plants and you have a 3 by 6 area, it'll say, oh, you can only have a maximum of 4 plants in this area, say. And it'll take some of that guesswork out of it for you. So let's take a look at this video here.
Pro. The Garden Plan Pro app has a database of more than 190 plants. The app helps you design a layout using rows, raised beds, and other methods. It links to local weather reports to determine when you should plant and harvest your crops. It even sends email reminders. You can also use the app to get in touch with a support specialist. Garden Plant Pro is available to download in the Apple App Store for $7.99. It works on iPhones and iPads.
And then we also have apps like Garden Answers, which use image recognition technology to compare any photo you take with your phone against a database to help you identify plants quickly and easily.
Garden Answers Plant Identification. Garden Answers is the revolutionary plant identification app that instantly identifies over 20,000 plants and gives you accurate and detailed information about them. It also identifies pests and diseases and provides expert advice for questions you ask about plants. Plants
Plantifier is another garden or plant identification application.
Plantifier. Plantifier is a popular plant recognition tool backed by mygarden.org, a wide community of garden and plant enthusiasts. It allows you to upload a photo of an unknown plant and the community will help you identify the plant. Leaf
And Plant Snap, which is very cool because it doesn't only recognize plants, it extends to flowers, trees, and even mushrooms.
ask about plants. Plant Snap. Not only plants, but flowers, trees, succulents, mushrooms can also be recognized within seconds by this app. This revolutionary plant identification app is built by Earth.com. One great thing about this app is that its content is translated into 30 different languages. With a database of more than 500,000 species, this app is a very vast source of information.
And then finally, YouTube is a great mobile application to use for gardening and plant care. There are so many professional folks in the plant and garden industry that make high quality YouTube videos and tutorials guiding home enthusiasts through a wide variety of subjects like composting, fertilizing, building raised garden beds, planning your rain garden, planning the layout for your rose garden, and pretty much every other gardening type thing you can think of. So here's a short clip from West Coast Gardens, a Canadian garden center, all about tropical plant care.
Hi everybody, Jason here from West Coast Gardens, and today we're going to talk about the 3 levels of care when selecting your tropical plants. First category, the easiest care. We've got aglaonemias, we have sansevierias, we have apothos, which is a type of philodendron, another philodendron over here, salome, and of course the ZZ plants, which is almost indestructible. So I chose these plants because they can tolerate low levels of light, which we get here in the Northern Hemisphere. When I'm talking about low light, I'm talking about shaded, filtered light, no direct sun that you would normally see on the north side of a building or balcony. So for fertilizer, I like to use this Quick Green with iron. It's a 500. First number is nitrogen. That helps you get some growth, and there's added iron so that your plants stay dark green. What's great about this group is you can plant them and place them in areas in your home or office that don't get a lot of natural light. So this next group of tropical plants requires a little bit more care, a little more light and attention. We've got over here on the right, we have this Schefflera arbicola, lots of little leaves. It's a bush style. You can also find them in a tree. We've got this beautiful limelight Dracaena, which likes lots of light, but no direct sun. This fiery croton, one of my favorites, awesome for a bright light area. Not too bad for care, but these ferns require a little bit more care. They're a lot of fun. They're tropical ferns, such as this fluffy ruffle. You want to make sure that they're kept evenly moist and given as much bright, filtered light as possible. So now for the more difficult plants, in my opinion. These plants are arguably some of the most favorite out there, yet the most difficult. And the main reason why is because of sunlight. This fiddle leaf fig, which is actually a ficus, if it gets too much direct sun, it could scorch. If it gets too under light, it won't grow healthy enough. And the same goes for this majesty palm. That's what makes these plants the more difficult. The watering is the same, the nutrition is the same, it's the light. And if you think about moving this pot across the room, think again, it won't like it. We have the easy care plants, we have medium care plants, and we have a little bit more difficult plants. So do your diligence, research them, and try them. Learning is growing and growing is learning. Thanks for watching. I'm Jason from West Coast Gardens.
So I really loved that sentiment he said at the end there. Learning is growing and growing is learning. YouTube, of course, is a mobile app. It's also available on a lot of smart TVs and devices like Roku and Chromecast. So you can be watching and learning about different gardening tips from the comfort of your living room, or you can watch them while you're out in your garden. Now, the last thing I'll show you, and I discovered this sort of by accident, is that there is kind of a built-in plant identification tool in our Photos apps. I know for sure this is on the iPhone, and I think it's available on the Android through the Google Lens app. But essentially, let me share my phone screen with you all. Essentially, what you'll do is you'll take a photo of any plant, like this one that's sitting on my desk here. And once you click to open that, there is a little information button that pops up at the bottom of the screen. Not sure if you all are seeing that information button that pops up at the bottom of the screen. In any event, it allows you to look up do a reverse image search essentially for that plant, and it will give you its best guess on what that plant could be. This plant happens to be an African violet, and right from the Siri knowledge section, I can get more information about the African violet, or that long Latin name up there that I will not even try to say. And I just discovered this because I was taking pictures of my cute plants and clicking around in my phone. So that might be a great option for you as well if you're not necessarily interested in downloading a bunch of plant identifier apps, but you want to know the best way to care for a beautiful plant you found. All right, back to sharing this screen. And we can move on to talking about Facebook groups. These are some of the best places to get personal advice from people about specific plant or garden subjects. And of course, unlike our apps, Facebook groups are absolutely free to join and very easy to join. All you'll really need is a Facebook account to participate. There are many, many regional groups that you could join on Facebook. I've got a couple listed on the screen here. So being a part of all of these groups is really going to be helpful, or at least one of them, because a person planting a garden in Wisconsin and a person planting a garden in Florida are going to have entirely different experiences, different times of the year when they should be planting or bringing their plants in, if at all. Different plants that are even viable in their climate. But here in the Midwest, we can generally, work on a similar schedule. In the state of Wisconsin, we generally work on a similar schedule. So those sort of regional groups are very helpful for giving you a perspective that is still of value to you, but is more broad than just a local group, say. There are also plenty of subject-specific groups. If you are a beginning gardener or a beginning houseplant enthusiast, you might have a lot of beginner questions that people who've been gardening since the 70s just aren't going to have and aren't interested in seeing the response to. If you're interested in semi-hydroponics or planting in leca, there's a group for you. If you're going to be doing some raised bed gardening, definitely groups talking about that, very active at this time of year, of course. Even if you're interested in a specific type of plant or a specific type of garden, like a rain garden, for example, or a monstera, for example, there are specific groups dedicated to talking about that subject, and that will provide you with a lot of information and resources that you may find very valuable. And then there are also local groups. Of course, I'm coming to you from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So these are just some examples of some groups that I'm a part of on Facebook, all very much based in the Milwaukee area. So these are great places to go for recommendations for plant shops and greenhouses, or if you're curious about, can I plant a decorative hedge around my property? In most cases in the city of Milwaukee, you can actually do that, but it depends on how tall it is, right? So it's going to be a lot of local information that's very, very helpful. And there's always the option to start your own Facebook group. If you happen to live somewhere and you find there aren't a lot of local groups, there's not one in your city maybe, or it doesn't really focus on the geographical region in conjunction with the subject as you would like it to, you can always start your own. 2 weeks ago, we talked about starting Facebook groups and pages, so know that that option is definitely available to you for whatever subject you are interested in. Now, for not quite tech. I just wanted to mention this part, even though, I lead a Technology Tuesdays program. Obviously, that's my focus. But I recognize that not everyone wants to be inundated every day. Some people want to talk on the phone to a real person. There are many other ways to get advice beyond the ones that I've mentioned today. One of them is the UW Extension's Master Gardener program. And this program is full of highly knowledgeable and trained volunteer master gardeners who will be able to help you learn how to best plan out your garden or care for it, dealing with pests, what's appropriate for the shady side of your house versus what's appropriate for the south-facing super sunny side of your house, and things of that nature. Master gardeners really volunteer all over the community. I'm actually going to have a couple of master gardeners volunteer with me this summer at the library for some programming. I am going to drop a link into the chat for the webpage of the, hold on. There we are. For the webpage of the Milwaukee County Extension Services Plant Health Advising Help Desk, and they have a phone number and an email address that you can reach out to via calling them or texting them or emailing them. So they are trained people to give you advice on your plants and on your gardens. And then we also can't discredit the expertise of our local shops and greenhouses. Most people owning and operating these greenhouses and local shops are experts that have some training in that field. So if you ask them, you know, what sort of light requirements does this ficus have? Where can I put this? Where is this shrubs meant to be the happiest in my yard? They will be able to give you advice on that sort of stuff. I wouldn't necessarily expect the greatest advice from some big box stores, but if you're going to a dedicated greenhouse or plant store, there's definitely someone there most of the time who can answer your questions and help you figure out what plants are going to be happy in your home or in your yard. So if you're interested in houseplants at all, I have to do the shameless self-promotion. Every month this summer at the Tippecanoe branch, I'll be hosting a houseplant and cutting swap. While we can't take things from outdoor gardens due to the risk of spreading invasive species, which we do not want to do, houseplants, cuttings of houseplants, and seeds are definitely fair game. So you might be able to get some new plants and get rid of some of your old plants that don't bring you joy any longer. And at this program, every month, I will have a volunteer master gardener there to offer advice and give you some sort of care instructions on any plants you bring and any plants you take as well. This program is once a month this summer on Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. I'll be sure to send out a link to this event in my follow-up email. If any of you are interested, or if you just want to come by and say hi, send your holds to the library, to the Tippecanoe branch that week, you know, I'd be more than happy to say hello. And it also takes place outside in the secret garden, which is a place we don't normally have open to the public. If you're interested in any other events, both virtual and in person at the Milwaukee Public Library, I'd highly encourage you all to visit mpl.org/calendar to find out what awesome things we're going to do next. All right, are there any questions?
Let's see. So far, I don't see any in the Q&A. I'm excited about your plant swap, though. I'm gonna have to come down and check that out. We have some good plants going here at the East Branch too that a coworker is taking care of, and I think somebody is propagating some cuttings to bring down from our
Ooh.
collection.
Awesome, that makes me so happy to hear.
Yeah.
I did find a 3D printed trellis during one of
Oh,
the videos just to show everybody kind of what it looks like. The plant needs water, so forgive me for that, but As you can see, it's modular. Well, can you see? It's
Yeah, I can see.
modular and connected right here, and I can keep adding
Oh,
sections as the plant grows taller and taller.
that's so cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Somebody would like you to put the list of events back on the screen if you can.
Sure. This guy?
Is this the right one? Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'll leave that on the screen for a while.
Mm. I like using the 3D printer. We might need to get one of those watering devices though for one of our plants here. It just looks sad and I'm pretty sure we're overwatering it. And I need to just steal it, I think, and hide it for a
Mhm.
while. Like,
Mhm.
please quit watering the plant. It's yellow
Mm.
because it's dying.
It's hard when there's like multiple
Yes. People.
chefs in the kitchen, so to
Yes.
speak. Yes,
We even have a little clipboard, but I think that one just doesn't need as much
sure,
as the other ones. Like the
definitely.
peace lily, that one tells you when it's
Oh yeah.
ready. It's super
Oh yeah.
dramatic. All right. Yeah, I don't see any other questions, so I think
Oh,
we're good.
cool beans. Well, I do want to thank you all for joining me today, and I hope some of you will join us next week for our presentation on Google Maps and Google Earth, especially as we head into these warmer road trip ready months. It should be a fun one. Um, again, thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye, everybody.
See you next time.